On the day of our engagement, my fiancé David abandoned me to accompany his first love Emily, he impatiently explained. Can't you be more sensible? Emily has a stomachache, and she can't manage without me. I withdrew all the business resources I had given him and said coldly. Then you two can damn well die together. On the day of the engagement party, I held David's arm and smiled as I greeted the guests. His phone beeped. He glanced at it, and his face stiffened slightly. I looked sideways and saw it was a text message, before I could see the content clearly. He quickly put away his phone. He whispered in my ear. Sophia, I need to take a call. I'll be back soon. I nodded, but noticed his forced calmness. For some reason, I felt a vague unease. And he was gone for an hour, when he didn't return for a long time. I went looking for him and finally found him at the corner of the hallway. He was facing away from me. His voice low. Emily, I'm getting engaged today and can't come to see you. My steps halted. Emily, David's first love. The tension in my heart instantly snapped tight, just then. Whatever was said on the other end made David's expression change. And he said anxiously, Wait for me. I'll be right there. After that, he hung up and hurried toward the exit without even glancing back. Completely forgetting that the ballroom was hosting our engagement party. Perhaps he hadn't forgotten it was just that compared to Emily. I wasn't that important, suppressing the bitterness in my heart. I called out to him. David, where are you going? He turned and looked at me, smiling as he explained. A client had an emergency I need to go check. He was still lying, but the anxiety in his eyes was unmistakable. I heard everything. I said, my voice hoarse. David, you're going to find Emily, aren't you? His face stiffened, but he didn't deny it. I smiled bitterly. David, today is our engagement party, and you're going to find another woman. But my question was met with silence. Just then, his phone rang again. I saw two words, Emily. David's expression shifted slightly, and he said impatiently, Sophia, stop making a fuss. Emily's stomach illness has flared up. I'll just take her to the hospital and come back, and our engagement will proceed smoothly. With that, he left without looking back. From a distance, I heard him answer the phone, his voice gentle. Emily, don't be afraid. I'm almost there. It's okay. Stop crying. I'll come keep you company soon. I stared at his retreating back, feeling nothing but sorrow for myself. I once saw a question. How devastating can a first love be? The top-voted answer was the moment she appears. No one else matters. Emily. David. They were each other's first love and even childhood sweethearts. But 8 years ago, Emily moved abroad, and they broke up. I knew she meant something different to David, but I still underestimated her influence. As soon as she appeared, my 3 years of companionship meant nothing. My hands trembled uncontrollably, and I leaned against the wall. Since you care so much about her, why bother with me? Am I just a substitute? These 3 years of feelings are utterly ridiculous. The banquet guests were still waiting. I couldn't stay away for long. I reapplied my makeup, took a deep breath, and walked into the banquet hall. Then, I announced the cancellation of the engagement. The guests were bewildered. I said calmly, David has just gone to accompany Emily. I don't like it. So the engagement is cancelled. A simple sentence, laden with meaning. On the engagement day, abandoning his fiancée to accompany another woman. Isn't this just cheating? The guests looked at me with mockery, indifference, or curiosity. The banquet hall fell silent, but at that moment, a lazy voice came from the corner. It should have been like this long ago. Miss Sophia has no reason to keep a disloyal dog. I followed the sound and met a stunningly handsome face. My rival since childhood. But at this moment, his words struck right at my heart. A disloyal dog. Describing David is indeed very appropriate. The news of the cancelled engagement spread quickly. When I got home, I received a call from David. Sophia, why did you cancel the engagement banquet? I didn't answer. He knows the answer better than anyone but wants to shift the blame onto me. It's simply ridiculous. David saw that I didn't speak, and his tone softened a bit. Sophia, don't throw a tantrum. Okay. I've already explained to you. I'm just helping her this once. After taking her to the hospital. I'll come back. Why can't you wait for me? He said this with extreme righteousness. As if I were the one in the wrong. Sophia. Let's get re-engaged. Okay. I really love you. Love me. Loving me is abandoning me at the engagement banquet. Loving me is ignoring my pleas and disregarding my pain. This love. It's not worth a damn. Don't say you love me. I said coldly. Your love is so dirty it makes me sick. David's breath hitched, and his tone became stiff. Sophia. Emily's stomach illness flared up. She can't do without me, I sneered and interrupted him. Then you two can fucking die together. David's tone turned cold. Sophia. Do you have to say it so harshly? I was not afraid at all. And my tone was even colder. Compared to the disgusting things you've done. What do my words matter? On the other end of the phone, David fell silent, leaving only shallow panting sounds. The air grew still. My previously chaotic heart slowly calmed down. David's hoarse voice sounded again. Sophia. This time I didn't think it through. I hurt you. I won't see her anymore from now on. Okay. I really love you. You can't leave me. At the end of his words, his voice carried a hint of asob. My heart shuddered violently. Love me. Then why would you hurt me? I was about to speak when a soft, delicate voice came through the phone. David, where are my pills? It was Emily's voice. Emily was with him. He was reciting sweet nothings to me while sitting right beside Emily. In an instant, the last thread of reason in my mind snapped. The earlier bitterness swelled into overwhelming humiliation, through gritted teeth. I hissed. David, you lied to me again. David tried to explain. Sophia, I cut him off impatiently. My voice as cold and sharp as a blade. I will repay every ounce of this humiliation tenfold. Once, I had strategized for David, helping him rise as a rising star in the business world. Now, I could just as easily bring him crashing down. The first time I saw David was at a banquet hosted by the Davis family. I had already declined the invitation. But my father dragged me there anyway, uninterested in socializing. I slipped away to an unnoticed balcony to enjoy the night view with a glass of champagne. Suddenly, hello, raspy voice came from behind me. Quite the escape artist. Aren't you? Michael. I rolled my eyes. Can't compare to the young Master Davis. Everyone's favorite. Beloved by all. Who wouldn't want to chat you up? My words dripped with sarcasm, twisting through 10 layers of irony, but instead of taking offense. Michael laughed and nodded in agreement. You're right. I am more likable than you. I choked on my retort, stunned by his audacity. Just as I prepared a comeback, a commotion erupted downstairs. David. Top of your class. Reduced to serving tea. Guess good grades aren't worth much. Huh. Look at you. David. Groveling like a dog. Go home and drink your milk. Oh, wait. I heard your mom's dead. Bet you jinxed her to death before the speaker could finish. The young man lunged forward, his fist connecting with Robert's face with a sharp thud. Everyone froze. Robert, clutching his cheek, roared, You dare hit me. Beat him to a pulp. His entourage of young masters surged forward, eager to attack. As the chaos escalated. Michael, as the host, couldn't stand by. What's all this racket? The group halted, looking up to where Michael and I stood. Their expressions shifted instantly, leaning over the railing. I looked down, my gaze settling on Robert. What do you mean? Jinxed to death. I hadn't planned to intervene. Bullying was commonplace in these circles. But when I was born, my mother died from complications. Whispers followed, blaming me for jinxing her, though my father later silenced those rumors. The words still filled me with revulsion. Robert stammered frantically. Miss Brown. I misspoke. Please don't be angry. His earlier arrogance vanished without a trace. I glanced at Michael. an icy smile playing on my lips from now on. I don't want to see him at any gathering. That single sentence was enough to ruin the Wilson family's prospects. Pale as a ghost, Robert was dragged away by security, his friends scattered like rats. Desperate to avoid the fallout, only the young man remained. Standing alone in the center, he looked up at me, his eyes clear and piercingly cold. Handsome as a movie star, he said. Thank you. I waved my hand dismissively, not taking it to heart. I thought that would be the end of our interaction. But he actively pursued me. And after I watched coldly for years, I finally agreed. Father didn't say much. But Michael Davis said meaningfully, "Be careful. David's ambitions are huge. This kind of dog can't be tamed." At the time, I just felt disdain. But now that prophecy has come true. David indeed can't be tamed. I took a deep breath and called my secretary. "Sarah, stop that cooperation," I mentioned, handing over to the Smith Group. Of course. I knew one deal wouldn't hurt the established David much. But my goal was to send a message to the outside world that I had completely broken with David. The reason Smith Entertainment developed so rapidly was that I funneled some resources and actors from Brown Entertainment. Back then, everyone deferred to the Brown family's reputation without objection. Now, naturally, no one wants to offend the Brown family because of David. In 2 weeks, Smith Entertainment's resources suddenly dried up, and some qualified star actors wanted to terminate their contracts. This caused his steadily rising stock to plummet to rock bottom overnight. Michael called me, laughing mockingly. "I didn't expect you, love-struck as you are, to be so clear-headed." "Not seduced by that temptress David," I replied flatly. "He can't be dodgy. And am not King Zhou of Shang, though both King Zhou and I started because of beauty. There's a difference in beauty." Just then, Sarah knocked on the door and said, "Manager, Mr. Smith is here to see you." I nodded and had him come in. David pushed open the door, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "Sophia, have you eaten?" He acted as if nothing had happened, as if the previous unpleasantness didn't exist. But he forgot I didn't. "Get to the point." David's expression stiffened, and he said softly, "Sophia, I know I hurt your feelings at the engagement party, and you have every right to be angry. But I swear to heaven, I only see Emily as a sister. I never did anything to betray you." David reached out to take my hand, his tone earnest. "Can you forgive me this once? I promise never to have any contact with her again." I stared coldly at him and sneered. "Did you leave your brain in the womb when you were born? Or did you throw it away during evolution? Do you think everyone is as stupid and easy to fool as you?" David's smile vanished instantly. But he persisted. "Sophia, I really love you. Haven't you forgotten all the good I did for you over these 3 years? Do you have to be so heartless? Father once told me that when a man brings up the past, it proves he has nothing left to offer now." David was no different. I narrowed my eyes and stared at him expressionlessly. "You were indeed good to me. But I wasn't bad to you either. When you went to networking events and got drunk, I made you hangover soup. When you were hospitalized with a fever, I stayed up all night caring for you. When you faced financial difficulties, I gave you all my savings. Your top resources and actors, I handed them to you one by one. I accompanied him through the toughest startup phase, giving money, effort, and resources, all for David himself. Compared to the love David gave me, what I provided was more practical and helpful. David understood that better than anyone, his voice hoarse. He said, "Sophia, I know all of it. Can we start over?" I shook my head without hesitation. "David, I asked you at the engagement party, and you insisted on leaving. I lowered my boundaries for you, endured humiliation and pain for you, and you made me feel like a cheap throwaway, David. You wronged me." David looked ashen, his hands trembling involuntarily. A flicker of disgust crossed my cold eyes. "I am not trash. And what I gave you wasn't cheap. If you don't value it, I'll take it all back." David watched me silently, his lips parting. But he couldn't speak for a long moment. In the end. He left the company in despair. Sarah whispered softly beside me. This attitude seems quite sincere. I glanced at her and replied coolly. If David really wanted to apologize, why did he have to wait until his career was failing? The assistant wondered. He wants to. I let out a cold laugh and said. He's just testing my stance. If I were easily swayed by a few sweet words and reconciled, he'd exploit me forever, sucking me dry until I had nothing left. But I was no longer an inexperienced young girl. High society is full of countless dirty and foul things. David's methods were too naive and aloof compared to those men and women trying to climb into wealthy circles. Yet with my firm attitude now, he probably needed to find other ways to win back. Promising stars were leaving David's entertainment company one after another. While some obscure talents had little fame and couldn't earn much, stocks were dropping lower every day, and the funding chain was on the verge of collapse. Soon unable to hold on, suddenly, Emily signed a surprise contract with David's entertainment company. Though she couldn't act, sing, or dance well, she was stunningly beautiful and hugely popular, a current top actress with immense money-making power. Michael sat in my office, clicking his tongue in amazement. This month, Emily took on 5 ads and 3 variety shows, working non-stop almost the whole month just to patch up David's funding chain. I shot him a look, my hand never stopping as I signed documents. You're so free. Still digging into this, Michael snatched my pen irritably and grumbled. Ungrateful wretch. Who do you think I'm doing this for? Stop pretending to be devoted. I leaned back in my chair and sneered. You're just here for the drama. Since childhood. Michael loved adding fuel to the fire to satisfy his love for stirring up trouble. Usually, if I said that, he'd laugh it off indifferently, but this time, his face turned cold. He stared at me deeply and gritted his teeth. No good deed goes unpunished. With that, he stormed out of the office. Sarah walked in, looking puzzled. President, what happened? Who knows? I said, equally confused, silently wondering if Michael was really helping me this time. Just then, my phone rang. I picked it up and saw it was Emily. She asked to meet me at a tea house. In the private room. Emily wore a white dress, her face pale. Playing the innocent role, she said. Sophia. That day my stomach hurt, and I couldn't reach my agent. So I called David. I really didn't mean to disturb you. After David broke up with you, he buried himself in work, not eating or drinking, living miserably. He loves you deeply. Could you forgive him? I looked straight at her and suddenly asked, did David stay with you that night? Did nothing happen? A blush spread across Emily's cheeks as she waved her hands frantically. How could that be? We didn't. I raised an eyebrow with a knowing smile. So one of you is a saint with unwavering morals, and the other a chaste martyr. Impressive. Emily's eyes welled up, tears streaming down. I know you still blame me, but if you forgive David, I won't mind however you scold me. I watched her perform silently, showing no reaction. As her expression grew stiffer, I finally spoke slowly, honestly. If you put half this effort into your acting career, you wouldn't be called the queen of bad films anymore. We're both old foxes. Why play the innocent chicken with me? Emily's eyes turned cold, but tears kept flowing. That night, David was so passionate I had no choice but to. Before she finished, I flung my iced coffee in her face. She screamed and scrambled for tissues, but I grabbed her wrist and punched her stomach. Emily shrieked in pain, collapsing to the floor, covered in coffee stains. A complete mess. She seemed shocked I'd resort to violence. Staring at me in horror, I looked down at her contemptuously and sneered. Spare me your filthy tales. I've no interest in your animalistic mating. With that, I strode out of the room, since Emily wanted to create news and build an innocent persona. I'd happily oblige, like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. It was no surprise Emily released a video just as I expected. In the cafe, I was fiercely beating Emily with a ferocious expression. Emily was knocked to the ground, crying tears instantly. I made headlines shocking. Sophia bullies the new actress queen. Breaking. Emily helps the Smith family out of affection but angers Sophia. Getting beaten publicly. In front of the media, Emily had a swollen, red face and teary eyes, looking utterly pitiful. I've always treated David like a brother. Now, after his breakup with Sophia, he's heartbroken and despondent. And his company is suffering. I couldn't bear it. So I stepped in to help. I never expected to anger Sophia or have her attack me in public. Before finishing, she covered her face and burst into tears. Rushing off immediately, I was thrust into the spotlight, without an account. Netizens flooded the Brown family group's page. The comments and private messages filled with insults and slander against me. Miss Brown is something else. After a breakup, she won't let go of her ex, determined to ruin him completely. My goddess is so kind-hearted and loyal, daring to defy the Brown family to help David. I'll love you forever. Sophia is way too arrogant, bullying David, who's from a small background. How could he stand against the Browns? Vicious and mean. The Qing dynasty is long gone, yet she's still pulling power plays. Of course, there were a few rare skeptical comments. Did David do something wrong to deserve this targeting? But they quickly got buried. Emily's statement is such a fake. However, it vanished instantly. And clicking showed it was reported and banned. How guilty they must feel reporting and hiring paid trolls. I clicked my tongue lightly. Contacted PR to reach out to those people. And offered compensation. After all, reasonable spectating deserves encouragement. Sarah stood beside me, whispering softly. It seems Emily's invitation last time was premeditated, with paparazzi set up in advance. She asked, "Miss, should we issue a statement to clarify?" I nodded with a light laugh. Sure. I've been waiting for that idiot to take the bait. After all, netizens love a circus of gossip. But no one wants to be the clown. Sarah prepared for the press conference while online disputes raged on. I registered an account and posted my first update. Who sent this? Expect a lawyer's letter. The picture was a white flower. Then I reposted the legal notice, warning all netizens not to ignore the law. The internet isn't a lawless place. But netizens thought I was guilty. Mocking and cursing the Browns are impressive. Hiring big lawyers. But sending white flowers is spot on. That evil Sophia should die early. In broad daylight. Daring to bully like this and not allowing rebuttals. Who knows what terrible things she's done behind the scenes. Expressionless, I refreshed the comments and private messages. Then posted another update. Fools never know they're fools. The internet erupted into an uproar. With rapid sharing and comments. I noticed Michael liked and commented, "Fool in the well," and pinned it. I smiled. Before the press conference, the city held a business seminar, which I gladly attended. Upon entering, I saw David being interviewed by reporters, months apart. He looked gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes. Clearly tormented. A reporter asked, regarding the mass exodus of actors from Smith Entertainment. Do you know the reason, Mr. Smith? David smiled with a hint of resignation. There's nothing wrong with people seeking better opportunities. Smith Entertainment has some reputation in the industry, but it can't compare to bigger companies. So I don't blame them. I just wish them success. His attitude seemed gracious, but his words held hidden barbs. Bigger companies. Wasn't he pointing to the Browns? The reporter caught on and pressed, "Mr. Smith, you're truly magnanimous. Rumors say your breakup with Sophia was so bitter it led to this targeting. What's your take?" David smiled tenderly, eyes full of affection. Sophia has a childish temper, but I love her deeply. I only hope she'll come back to me. I was targeting David relentlessly, as if it were a fight to the death. Yet he appeared so gentle and doting, making me seem unreasonable. I snorted coldly, took the initiative to step forward. And my voice was icy and piercing. "Go back just to watch how sweet you are with your dear little sister." Everyone turned to look, and the cameras followed. Today, I wore a fiery red gown, radiant and stunningly gorgeous. While in contrast, David looked particularly shabby. I glanced at him, his face was rigid with shock. Not expecting me to dare show up under intense public pressure. Reporters bombarded with questions. I smiled faintly. Speaking clearly, wasn't it you, the great lover David, who abandoned me at the engagement party to spend the night with your dear little sister? David's gaze was tender as he sighed helplessly. Sophia, I've already explained it to you. It was just a misunderstanding. Emily had acute gastritis. And she's helpless here. Don't throw a tantrum. Okay. I let out a drawn-out "oh" and smiled even more deeply. Got it. Emily has been here for 5 or 6 years. Right. No friends. No assistants. No one she knows besides you, yet it just had to be her dear big brother. Right in the middle of his engagement party. To come to her rescue. At those words, David's face froze instantly, turning pale and then purple. Sophia, but I suddenly moved closer and warned him word by word. Don't ever say my name from your filthy mouth again. It's too dirty. Too foul, and you think you and Emily's little tricks can defeat me. Dream on. With that, I turned to the press area and announced loudly, at 8 tonight, they'll hold a press conference to clarify everything. I hope you'll bear witness. Then I turned and left. This farce was timed to end. At 8. The press conference was packed with reporters. As I took my seat, it officially began. An entertainment reporter eagerly asked, Miss Brown, most actors from Chi Entertainment have terminated their contracts and defected to the She Group. Did you have a hand in this? I smiled warmly. Actors are adults who know where they can shine brightest. Besides, these actors only chose Chi Entertainment on my recommendation in the first place. Now that Chi Entertainment and I have parted ways, we should respect their individual choices. In the past, I protected David's dignity, fearing others would call him a freeloader. And never mentioned this, even when David left the engagement party. I stopped anyone present from making it public, just to preserve some face, but David let me down terribly. Now, I had no reservations. The attendees quickly noted it down. Then, another question followed. Mr. Michael said that Mr. David abandoned you at the engagement party because Emily suddenly left. Is that true? I nodded. Yes. Anyone at the party can confirm it. Not only that, I played the hotel surveillance footage on the big screen. It showed David answering a call. How I questioned his departure. How he lied to me. And after I exposed him, his defeatist attitude until he finally rushed off, abandoning me. Every move, every word was captured clearly, instantly turning David's heartfelt declarations from earlier into hypocrisy. Reporters exchanged glances and asked the most anticipated question. Then, a few days ago, when you angrily beat Emily, was it because of this? Beat her? I chuckled lightly and pulled out a voice recorder. Please forgive Brother David. That night, Brother David was so passionate. We had a wonderful time, from the hypocritical tone to the final line. It echoed clearly through the hall. Some younger reporters' expressions stiffened. Unable to fathom how anyone could be so shameless, I turned off the recorder and sighed softly, my face full of gentle warmth. She was asking for trouble, and I just helped her out. How can you call it a beating? Reporters nodded in agreement. Emily was indeed shameless and asking for trouble. I looked into the live camera, my eyes glinting coldly, and said word by word, Emily, I know you're watching. Did you think cutting the cafe surveillance would let you slander me freely? Too bad. I was prepared. David owes his success today to me. But he's ungrateful and disloyal. So, taking back what I gave him is perfectly reasonable. Did he really expect me to forget the past and let him strut around on my back? In fact, I initially had no intention of completely burning bridges with David. After all, he fled our engagement ceremony, leaving me utterly blameless. Yet I still felt humiliated. Better to just go our separate ways. Accept this loss. It's not like I lack resources. But David had the audacity to underestimate my dignity, repeatedly trying to manipulate me. Utterly disgusting, for someone this shameless. Eliminating them is the only right choice. Sparing others from his havoc. As for Emily. She's insignificant. I never paid her any mind. Betrayal requires two. A seductress means nothing without a willing man. David chose her. But I never imagined Emily would actively seek me out to frame me, David. Meanwhile, fan the flames behind the scenes. Trying to crush me with public opinion, thankfully. Sensing Emily's ill intent when she invited me. I brought a voice recorder. I captured everything. Reporters, moved by my statement, nodded in agreement, smirking. I scoffed. David dreams of being Shwe Pingwe. Well, im no wang bouchuan. My temper is fierce and unyielding. Cross me once, and I return it tenfold. I am no love-struck fool. You won't catch me digging wild vegetables on some barren hill. As a ruthless heiress. ID by the whole mountain to bury cheaters together. After the press conference, I trended again, but unlike last time's slander, praise flooded in. Courageous and brilliant. Sister Sophia is the real leading lady. How dare a schemer like Emily provoke a volcano like our Sophia? Scorched to ashes. This is how to handle cheaters, all love-struck souls. Take notes. Every Wang Baochuan must hear Sophia's take on love. Cleaned house flawlessly. Someone get me into Sophia's bed. The comments had me chuckling. Michael slid a plate of sliced steak toward me. His tone icy, Miss Brown. I must insist on that apology. And am not your eunuch. Since when do eunuchs look this dashing? I set my phone down. Beaming sweetly, you're my royal guard. Standing by me at the engagement. Gathering evidence on Emily. Defending me to the press. I saw it all. Michael wasn't half as annoying as had been in childhood. He froze. Then cleared his throat. Flustered. Glad you realize it. I grinned wider, Mike. You're blushing, instinctively covering his face. He caught my teasing look and forced nonchalance. Loosening his tie, it's just hot in here, raising a brow. I played along. Right, sweltering. Michael glanced at me. I blinked innocently. We both burst out laughing. He drove me home. As I stepped out. A figure lunged from the shadows only to be kicked down by Michael. The man groaned but scrambled closer. Voice ragged, Sophia. Please, give me another chance. I can't live without you. Squinting. I recognized David. A month had ravaged him. Once handsome features gaunt. Stubble shadowing his jaw. Dark circles bruising his eyes. There was still a strange odor on him. I stepped back 2 steps in disgust and said coldly. David. You said back then that Emily couldn't live without you and told me not to make trouble out of nothing. Why have you changed so quickly? David shed tears and wished he could kneel down and beg for mercy. I really know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Please forgive me this time. I rolled my eyes impatiently. I. Miss Sophia of the Brown family. Don't keep unfaithful dogs. After saying that, I turned around and was about to leave. But David chased after me relentlessly. Sophia. Give me another chance. Before he could finish his sentence, he was kicked in the stomach by Michael and flew several meters away. Michael stared at him with a cold and gloomy look in his eyes, as if looking at a dead thing, and said word by word, Don't mention her name with your dirty mouth ever again. David instinctively flinched twice. David. It'll make you suffer even more. After saying that, Michael took my hand and strode away. When we got home, I lowered my head seriously. When Michael saw this, he said irritably and coldly, Do you still like him? Are you blaming me for hitting him? No. I glanced at him, shook our clasped hands, and smiled innocently. Classmate Michael. How long do you want to take advantage of me? Michael was stunned. 2 blushes appeared on his fair face. But he held my hand tightly and just wouldn't let go. He murmured softly. Of course it's forever. I looked at him and couldn't hold back my laughter anymore. Michael. He's kind of cute. I don't know how Michael dealt with David, but since then, I've never seen him again. Emily left with him, but no one cared, after all. One had gone bankrupt and was in debt. and the other was disgraced and had nothing. The world is so cruel that no one cares about losers, fortunately. I got back what belonged to me. Whether it was resources or feelings, I returned to work and climbed up the ranks in the group with my outstanding ability. Meanwhile, Michael often appeared in front of me. It could be said that he was trying to please me. The young master of the Davis family lowered his status to be my secretary, bringing me tea and water. I was extremely honored. I knew what he meant. But since he didn't take the initiative, I wouldn't say anything either. Girls should, of course, be reserved, day after day, week after week, year after year. I could be patient. But he couldn't hold it in anymore. He carefully planned a so-called proposal ceremony, not knowing that I had already seen through it. After all, the most common thing he said a week ago was, "I have a big surprise for you. Just wait and see." It was hard not to guess, but on that day, I still pretended not to know and walked to the scene in a pretentious manner. However, I was still shocked by his elaborate design. Fireworks were blooming, colorful in the dark night, gorgeous and magnificent. Lanterns were filled with my name. He was telling the sky Michael liked Sophia. He was wearing a black suit and standing under the fireworks, nervously stuttering. "Sophia, when I was a kid, I always wanted to get your attention, so I often bullied you. But once you cried so sadly, and I felt so bad that day. I swore I'd never make you cry again. But I broke my promise and made you shed tears because of that jerk. I don't know what love is. I only know that I can't stop smiling when I think about growing old with you. I can't help getting excited when I see you appear. I am happy when you're happy and sad. When you're sad, I've chosen you. And my heart is yours too." He looked nervous and anxious, asking, "So, Sophia, will you marry me?" The crowd cheered. "Say yes. Say yes. Marry him." I blinked back tears but couldn't hide the choke in my voice. "But I'm not your girlfriend yet." Michael paused, then quickly asked, "Then can I be your boyfriend?" "No." Michael instantly looked crestfallen, his hands trembling uncontrollably. "That's okay. I can keep trying." I reached out and placed my hand on his lips to stop him, seeing his bewildered eyes. I smiled brightly, silly. "I do," I added. "That was in response to your first question before I could finish." He pulled me into a tight embrace, crushing me as if melting me into him. He said, "I love you." I smiled through tears and hugged him back tightly. "I do too." I looked up at the sky. Under the night, the moon hung midair, dotted with twinkling stars. One blink after another. But the stars and moon converged into a sea, finally united as one. David. Extra story: Sophia was getting married. This wedding of the century spread like wildfire. I end the videos. Tens of thousands of red roses blanketed the venue. Under the spotlight, she looked breathtakingly beautiful, gazing at someone who wasn't me. Suddenly, I recalled that time she leaned on my shoulder, her voice soft and sweet. "David, when we get married someday, I want to wear the prettiest gown, with the whole floor covered in red roses, so beautiful and romantic." How had I responded back then? I said, "Okay, whatever you want," playing the doting boyfriend. But really I was just trying to brush it off quickly to go find Emily. Sophia was like a distant, unreachable moon to me. When I held her in my arms, I was ecstatic at first, but mostly overwhelmed with pressure and panic. Could an ordinary person really own the moon? Better men than me surrounded her everywhere. The way Michael looked at her terrified me, compared to him. What was I? I worked like crazy, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't catch up to the Brown family. My stress grew day by day. I wanted to lash out, but I couldn't bear to do it to Sophia. She was the moon, meant to hang in the sky. I was content just watching from afar. Then Emily contacted me. She acted coy and sweet, and I knew she was trying to seduce me for better opportunities. With her, I found the long-lost, cherished admiration I craved. I could unleash my desires without restraint. Sophia remained oblivious, still gentle with me. I felt guilty, but I relished the thrill of manipulating her. Oh, what if you're so aloft? You still love me hopelessly devoted, unaware I have other women. And you're even engaged to me, what a fool. An idiot. I treated her casually. But that thought crossed my mind more than once. Everything ended on the day of the engagement party. Honestly. I don't know what I was thinking, maybe testing Sophia's limits. Or genuinely worried about Emily. But it doesn't matter anymore. Sophia and I broke up, actually. After the breakup, I subconsciously felt relieved. Compared with Sophia, what I cared more about was my career. I used to think so. However, after the talents in my company left one after another, and the financial pressure doubled, I made one mistake after another. Finally, I went completely bankrupt and was burdened with huge debts. I changed my name and fled far away from my hometown. The countryside was poorly informed and knew nothing about my past. Under the arrangement of my parents, I married a tough woman who had been married before. Life was miserable, poor and difficult. I began to dream about the past night after night, with sweet, proud and sad memories, but there was no Sophia, however. I knew that a scumbag like me didn't deserve to dream of her. But today, maybe because I watched a video, she actually appeared in my dream. David, are you really going to accompany another woman at the engagement party? David, you are so disgusting. And so is your love. David, you've let me down. Her successive interrogations and dropping tears hit my heart like heavy blows. Although it was just a dream, I felt so painful that I could hardly breathe. But I didn't want to wake up if it weren't for this dream. I'm afraid I'd never see her again in my life, until I was woken up by a slap. When I opened my eyes, I saw the tough woman's face. She shouted at the top of her voice, David, what are you pretending to be dead for? Get up quickly and set up the stall. After a night of dreaming, I was so sleepy and exhausted that I am not feeling well today, that I don't want to go. But before I finished speaking, the woman snatched the quilt away, and I felt a chill run through my body. The woman shouted even louder, Don't want to go. If you don't go out to make money, where can we get the money for our son's milk powder? Do you want to starve our son to death? The son was the child of the woman's ex-husband. I wanted to talk back. But looking at her tough and ferocious face, I didn't dare to say a single word. Get up quickly, or I'll drag you up. I had to get up, put on my clothes, and push the breakfast stall slowly on the snow-covered ground. Just as I set up the stall at the alley entrance, not far away came the woman's shrill voice, Brother Chin. The money you gave me is not right. There's still a shortage of 200 yuan. A man shook off the woman's hand and said coldly, You bitch are only worth this much. If you dare to follow me, I'll kill you. After saying that, he turned around and left, but the woman chased after him relentlessly. She clung to the man's arm and refused to let go, while shouting at the top of her voice, Brother Chun, even if you kill me, you have to give me the missing money, otherwise, I'll go to your home and let your wife and children know what you've done. You may not be afraid of anything, but can your son in the key class stand it? The man was so angry that he wanted to beat the woman, but seeing more and more onlookers, he spat on the ground. You shameless bitch. If you want the money, go get it yourself. He took out 200 yuan and threw it into the nearby lake. To get the money, one had to go into the water, although the water in the lake wasn't frozen. It was extremely cold, but the woman jumped into the water without hesitation and picked up the money. When she got out of the water, she was shivering with cold. Her cotton-padded jacket was soaking wet, and her neck was covered with purple and blue marks. The passers-by looked at her with disgust and moved far away. I watched the scene numbly, walked up to her, and threw a coat on her. The woman didn't even look up and said skillfully with a coquettish smile, Dear brother, do you want to have some fun? But when she looked up, she couldn't say a word. David. I nodded and went back to the stall. I numbly repeated the actions of selling breakfast, collecting money, and counting money. Emily watched for a while, then suddenly sneered mockingly. I didn't expect you to be in such a bad state. I looked up at her. She had no idea what came to mind, but suddenly covered her face and burst into tears. Tell me, if we hadn't made mistakes back then, would we be living well now? I really regret it. She spoke sentence by sentence until her voice grew hoarse. Sentence by sentence. It tore my heart apart. I sighed and said, "It's too late, everything is too late." She stared at me blankly, wanting to speak but holding back, and just then, a woman shouted not far away, "Sophia, Robert is here. Hurry home." She froze for a moment, then quickly wiped away her tears, put on a practiced seductive smile, swayed her hips, and walked back. Neither of us said goodbye, but we both knew that these days would repeat themselves day after day, until we die.